Hello to the GCN community. My name is Mitch Gardner and this is the 6th episode of the GCN A-Z series. For the letter F, we are following up on the 4th episode of Dynamics and looking at Forte. Sorry, not the key of Forte, but the performance direction instead. Sorry to any car enthusiasts out there. So to follow up, Forte is an Italian performance direction in music that stands for loud. It isn't the loudest dynamic, as we can actually go to fortissimo or fortissimo and so on. I'm going to show you a couple of examples of Forte in action in a classical environment so you can hear the difference between that and piano, which is the Italian performance direction for soft. I will also be showing some examples of fortissimo and louder. So to start us off, let's look at the opening to Mozart's Symphony No. 40 in G minor. Simplistic and elegant. The orchestration is very easy to analyse. Harmonically, it's nothing particularly life-changing, but it makes it more serious by being marked as forte across all instruments. Now, let's hear the start of Brahms' Hungarian Rhapsody No. 5 in F sharp minor. This is an interesting one. We have the horns playing exactly the same thing as the violas, but they are marked mezzo forte instead of forte. The same applies to the trumpets and trombone section underneath, which is pronounced Puson in German. These are playing piano. This would be the fact that it is the brass section and they are louder than the other sections. So if they play too loud, for example in forte, then they will just overtake other instruments in dynamics and be too prominent. Let's quickly look at fortissimo now, to one of my favourite symphonies. Shostakovich's Symphony No. 10. Listen to the ferociousness of the strings here. The ferociousness couldn't be interpreted with just a forte marking. The fortissimo marking just helps get that angry vibe across. They play the strings with more attack, especially when they will be a down bow, which is a direction where they can get the most attack. How about more Fs? A great example would be from the final bars of Mars in Holt's The Planets. Many of you will also recognise this from the similarities between it and a small section in the main titles to Star Wars. The trumpets are playing rather high, but the entire chord itself is in the strong range for the trumpet, and the same applies to the trombone section, where the notes are in an area that isn't difficult for the player to really get the correct dynamics out there. Now that we've seen these in action, let's look at the mock-up I have done of the first 30 seconds of the Asteroid Field from Star Wars Episode 5. Okay, so now we're in Logic. Here's the little 30-second clip I've got. So this is from the Asteroid Field from Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, as I mentioned. So yeah, I'm just going to play it now so you can just hear it so far. There we go. So only a quick one I've done, but it'll give you an idea of the dynamic for forte. So let's look at the brass for a start. So we just get these together. So on their own. This is the Imperial March, Darth Vader's theme, spanned over 2 octaves. That's it, okay? But if we take it away from this section, let's hear how empty it sounds. Extremely. So let's start with adding the horns first. Okay, sorry. So horns. So there we go. So they're in the middle to high register of their instrument. So they're filling in the middle gap that the violas would sort of fill in as well. But obviously they're not as strong enough to do that. It wouldn't be strong enough, especially having 4 horns as well. So we've got 4 trumpets going on here. So 2 high and 2 low. So we'll start off with just adding the high. Now that provides the brilliance. So the brilliance will be coming out in those top trumpets. And if we had the bottom in, that just fills it out as well to sort of intertwine with the horns. And then we'll get the trombones in. So it's sounding a lot more full now because we've got the cellos over down here. So they're filling that gap there, that's fine. So the tuba can also help with this. So the tuba is literally just doing every beat, every start of the bar, and then put those together like we heard. So that's a good example of Forte in action with all the brass section. So that would be, you know, a similar example to the planets there, where you've just got everything working in harmony. Now if you look at the strings, just hear them on their own. Okay, so you can see many different colours here, even just in the first violins. So for anyone that might not be aware of that, that's the velocity of the MIDI. So the velocity is just here for as just an example. Just get the staccato key switch back on. So if I choose the first note, for example, so we're on the C there. We've got that 112, which I would say is Forte, on the verge of fortissimo, because it's quite a violent strike on the strings. If we took that down to 1, it's virtually, you can't hear it. So that would be pianissimo or quieter, pianissimo. You know, we're just going to go through the isses. That's all the dynamics are. And then if we get to say 40, see how it changes colour. So now we're looking at pianissimo piano area, and then to 70. Let's move that again, sorry. So now we're going to green. So we're looking between mezzo piano and mezzo forte. 90, definitely mezzo forte, between mezzo forte and forte. And this is where we get to the over 100 mark. We're looking at forte to fortissimo, and obviously 127 red would be fortissimo. So a good trick to go with realism with MIDI, especially on Forte, is to change these around. So as you can see, we've got these on all the same velocity. So this would alter the round robins. This is Cinematic Studio strings. I'm not sure what their round robins are personally. I can't quite remember. But what it will be doing is doing the same velocity for each note. So if you know how you can see you've got 7, so 7, yeah, so 7 on this C note here. So if it's 7 round robins, that's fine because we're playing 7. So it's not going to be the same machine, the machine gun effect. Whereas if we have it in different dynamics, then you can get that across with more realism because it's a different dynamic. Because it sounds like, instead of it being exactly the same in velocity, if we just alter it that little bit more, and then maybe same and a little bit less, just because it's it's the imperfections that make it perfect here. Don't know why that's come off. I've just pressed the wrong button. Sorry. There we go. Because you can see you can hear the differences there between this bar 5 and bar 6, where I've just altered those velocities there, versus them all being at 112. Because it doesn't even have to be. It can be minuscule. But now it doesn't sound like I've just copied and pasted the bar. I've actually gone into it and just delved into working that bit out. So now if we go to the next section, so we've just got this bit going up here. So you can see that we've got these greener notes lower in velocity, so it's going to be quieter. And if we mix that in with, I'll do just the violins too, just mix them in with those for a second. And then to mix those in, even the harmony, because it's obviously John Williams in his harmony is just a match made in heaven. So to make it quieter just brings it out more, because we've got more harmonic tension. So having it quieter just brings it out more. So I know this is about Forte, but I'm just going to go through this bit slightly, because now we've got the violas going underneath that, we can bring those out more, just to bring out the lower section. So now playing through this bit. So we can see there the velocity is changing as we go along. So you can see we've got different velocities going on there, and then it just builds up to 124, so not quite there. It's on pizzicato because the key switch just might mention that there. So I'm going to just go back to staccato. Okay. So we've got that staccato there at the end, 124, and then we're going from 92, so which is quite a steep incline. Oh, I was in violins too. Sorry. Let's get the key switch for that as well. There we go. So you can hear it building up, but they're very detached. So what I've done as a trick, as you probably heard, they're quite more joined together as you come up to this section. Is I've added a marcato patch behind it. So let's just listen to it with the marcato patch. So it's nothing too. It's not a crazy patch. It's just making them more legato, so they join together. But if we look at the automation, it's very quiet down here, and then we've got the modulation creeping up right at the end with nothing at the start. So it's nothing mad. I mean, I could lengthen these out even more to give it more of a legato effect. There's nothing wrong with that. Anyway, so before I swiftly move on, I'm just going to look at the winds here. Nothing much. So we've got the flutes, or Miss oboes and clarinets as well. So they're playing at the top of their game, the contrabassoon and bassoon, so they're playing quite loud, mezzo forte, or forte, really. And some notes, some are lower, I could say, because of the realism factor. Same with the bassoons. So we've got 126 there, 105, 108. And then if we just go a bit further, so that's the quieter bit. So we've got the quieter ones there, but you'll see that these are green as well. And you're thinking, but they're loud. It's because this is the Sonokinetic Woodwinds Ensemble, so they do it on modulation, even on the staccato patch. Yeah, that's that reason. Timpani is the last one for percussion. There's nothing more to say. Just hard hits. You know, like say. Then you hear the triplet here, and that's it. Nothing more to that at all, really. So we're just going to look at the final section over here. So let's just listen to it on its own. This is more orchestration than anything. So let's listen to the horns first. Sort of a swell, nothing too major. So that's blending into the next sections. If we had the tuba in now, imitating each other, easy peasy. Oh, added a marker. So now let's just get the trombones. As you can see, that's staccato. We've also got a marcato patch as well. So we just heard there. Nothing much going on there. And then let's just go with the. Oh, we've got staccato horns in there and just the rest of them. They're just filling in the gap. If we, hold on, I'm just going to layer them together so you can just see. So horns. So we've got the tuba, sorry, the horn there with the tuba, and then trumpets and trombones, so filling in one gap there, and then let's say the tuba there at the start, and then the trombones and bass trombone filling in another gap there. So they're just filling each other's boots. To really bring out that loud section. If we took that away, it would be extremely empty because we've got no woodwinds playing here apart from a staccato flute on the offbeat. So let's hear it now. It just sounds weird. It doesn't sound right, even just with horns on their own. That's what the trumpets on the triplet, they make it interesting. And even adding the trombones in there as well, having the extra triplets on the offbeat before the trumpet. Just gives it that element of surprise, you know, you don't know what's going to be next, so. So there's a quick one on Forte, just going through the different sections of the Asteroid Field. If you wanted a longer mock-up of this, let me know. I can see what I can do if I can find time for it. It was quite fun to make. There's still a lot of progress to be done really with it, as you can probably hear, especially in the brass. It needs programming a bit more. But yeah, I hope you found this video useful, so you can get an idea of how you can get the message across for staccato patches and legato really in modulation. Another thing I will just mention quickly before the end of this video is a patch in Logic. I'm not sure if this is available in Pro Tools, Cubase and the like, but one thing I always do, especially when you saw these different velocities here, I use something called the Normalized Tool. So if I just get these, because I can see that they're all the same dynamic from when we did it earlier, what I'm going to do is if I go to Functions, Midi Transform and humanize, it comes up with this. So this is to operate the MIDI velocity. So if I just press operate only because I've selected it, I will just press that a couple of times, and if you can see it, it's just transforming and changing the velocities. So it normalizes it like a normal person would play it. So it just shows you science is getting a bit too far. No, I'm joking. It's a really useful tool. So it just helps give the realism element as well. So I'll just play it now. Sorry, my studio string sometimes skips out on notes. But you can hear it's a bit drastic down here, so we can just move those up a bit to go with the rest of them. Still work to be done, like I say, but you can hear how good of a sound this can just have by just at the click of a button. So yeah, there we go. I hope you found this video useful. Be sure to subscribe for the next video, which will be the letter G.